Imagine being just 15 years old and trapped in a car with a man who's killed before. No phone, no one around, and you know you're next. But instead of panicking, this teenager did something incredible. He played the killer's mind and walked away alive. This isn't a movie. This is a real story of how one smart teen outwitted a real-life serial killer. Before we dive into this unbelievable story, take a moment to hit subscribe and turn on the bell icon. We bring you the most shocking true stories that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Alright, let's begin. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon in a small town in Oregon. 15-year-old Jake Thompson had just finished school. He was the kind of kid who kept to himself, good grades, quiet, loved video games, and had a close circle of friends. That day, Jake decided to walk home instead of taking the usual school bus. It wasn't far, just a 20-minute walk. The sun was out, birds were chirping, and everything felt normal. Jake had his earphones in, listening to music, when a car slowly pulled up beside him. It was an old, dusty sedan. The window rolled down, and a man in his 40s leaned out. He looked like any other regular guy, clean clothes, glasses, soft voice. "Hey kid," the man said with a smile. "I think I saw you drop your notebook back there." Jake paused. He didn't remember dropping anything, but the man held up a notebook that looked just like his. That moment of hesitation changed everything. Jake walked closer to the car. "Hop in, I'll drop you off home," the man offered. Jake felt a weird mix of confusion and politeness. He didn't want to be rude, and the man seemed friendly. So, he got in. The door clicked shut. That sound would haunt Jake for years. Inside the car, things felt off. The man locked the doors immediately. He didn't ask where Jake lived. Instead, he started driving in the opposite direction. Jake's heart began to race. My house is back that way," he said quietly. The man smiled again, but this time it felt fake. "Don't worry," he said. "I just need to make a quick stop first." Jake looked around. No phone signal, no houses nearby, just trees. He knew something was terribly wrong. That's when it hit him. This wasn't a friendly man. This was a predator, and Jake was in serious danger. But instead of panicking, Jake started to think. Jake sat stiffly in the passenger seat, his mind racing. The friendly smile the man had shown earlier was gone. Now, his face was cold, focused. He didn't speak. He just drove deeper into nowhere. Jake glanced around. No signs, no towns, just endless forest. He quietly reached for his phone in his pocket. No signal, of course. The man noticed, looking for something. He asked, without turning. Jake froze. "Just checking the time," he lied. The man gave a slow nod and kept driving. Jake's instincts were now screaming. Something was seriously wrong. Then the man broke the silence. "You know, most people wouldn't get in a stranger's car like that." His tone was calm. Too calm. Jake forced a small laugh. "Yeah, guess I just trusted your face," he said, trying to stay casual. The man smirked, eyes locked on the road. Jake realized he was testing him. This wasn't just a ride. This was a game, a psychological one, and Jake had just entered the lines. Then Jake had two choices now. Panic, scream, maybe try to run, or play along until he found a real chance to escape. He picked the second. Jake began asking questions. "Where are we going? You live around here?" Trying to sound curious, not afraid. The man gave short answers, vague ones. He didn't like being questioned. Then came a critical moment. They passed a sign, Cedar Lake, 5 miles. Jake had been there before, with his dad. He knew it was remote, abandoned, a perfect place to make someone disappear. That's when he knew he wasn't being taken somewhere. He was being taken away. Jake's palms were sweating, but he kept his voice steady. Cedar Lake. Cool place. I go fishing there sometimes. Trying to sound relaxed. The man looked at him sharply. You're pretty calm, he said. Jake shrugged. Just trying not to freak out, I guess. That answer made the man laugh, and, for the first time, Jake saw it. This guy enjoyed fear. He wanted his victim to panic. Jake's calmness was throwing him off, and that's when Jake realized his biggest weapon was his mind. Jake had figured it out. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a mental hunt. And if he showed fear, he'd already lost, so he stayed calm. Not fake calm, but controlled calm. The kind that made the man start to question who Jake really was. Ever heard of Cedar Lake's old ranger station? Jake asked suddenly. The man blinked. No. Why? Jake leaned back, pretending to relax. My uncle used to work there. Cops come by pretty often. You don't want to go near it if you're doing something ... sketchy. Silence. The man's grip on the steering wheel tightened. Jake noticed. That landed. Now the game had changed. Jake wasn't just a scared teen anymore. He was a wild card. Someone who might have connections. Someone who might not be so easy to get rid of. The man adjusted in his seat. So what do your parents do? He asked. Jake knew what that meant. He was trying to figure out how much noise Jake's disappearance would make. Jake answered carefully. My dad's in the military. Mom works at the sheriff's office. They expect me home by 5, or they freak out. It was all a lie, but it was the kind of lie that sounded just real enough. The man didn't respond. He was thinking now. Good minutes passed. Jake kept talking not too much, but just enough to stay in control. He dropped phrases like, my uncle's a hunter. He taught me how to use a rifle. Or, I've got a tracker on my bag. It's automatic. Again, total lies. But confidence made them believable. The man started checking his rearview mirror more often, looking for cars, police, anything. Jake's psychological game was working. Suddenly, the car slowed. They were now deep in the woods, near a dirt trail. Jake felt his chest tighten. This might be it, but he stayed in character. Hey, is this the shortcut to the ranger station? He asked casually. The man didn't answer. Instead, he turned off the car. For a moment, everything was silent except the ticking of the engine. Then the man spoke, low and serious. Get out. Jake's pulse spiked, but he nodded, opened the door, and stepped out, still pretending he wasn't afraid. Jake stepped out of the car. The forest was quiet to quiet. No other cars, no houses, no phone signal, just trees, and a man who clearly had bad intentions. The man got out too, but left the engine running. He opened the trunk. Jake turned, slightly to watch but not too obviously. Inside, he spotted something that made his blood run cold. A rope, a tarp, a shovel. This wasn't a random abduction. It was premeditated. Jake knew this guy had done this before, but instead of running, Jake stayed calm. He had one chance, and it had to be smart. As the man came closer, Jake started talking again. Hey, you sure the ranger station is this way? There's a camera on the trailhead, right? He said it like it was no big deal, but he watched the man closely. The guy froze for a half second. That tiny pause told Jake everything. The camera lie worked. The man looked around paranoid now. He didn't like the idea of being recorded. He was starting to lose control. Good Jake took a small step back, pretending to stretch. His eyes scanned at the trees, looking for anything. A path, a stick, a rock, an opportunity. And then, he saw it. A fallen log about 10 feet away. Behind it, a narrow trail leading into the woods. Jake made a quick decision. He was going to run, but he had to distract the guy first. Jake pointed toward the trunk. What's all that stuff for? He asked, loud and curious. As the man turned to glance, Jake bolted straight toward the trail. his legs pumping, adrenaline rushing. He heard the man yelled in footsteps, chasing behind. Branches whipped against his face. Thorns tore at his clothes. But Jake didn't stop. He didn't look back. He just ran. He zigzagged, ducked under branches, changed direction, anything to throw the man off. And then, he heard nothing. No footsteps, no yelling, just the sound of his own heartbeat. Jake slowed down, his chest heaving. Had he lost him? He crouched behind a thick tree trunk, ears straining for any sound. Still nothing. Just wind rustling the leaves. Then dash crack. A twig snapped nearby. Jake froze. Was it the man? Or something else? He peeked around the tree. Nothing. Another snap this time, from behind. Jake turned, and came face to face with a hiker. Not the man. Just a regular guy with a backpack and a confused expression. "Whoa, you okay, kid?" the hiker asked. Jake could barely speak, but he forced the words out. "There's a man. He tried to take me. He's got a shovel. Ropey's still out here." The hiker's eyes widened. "Come on. I've got a satellite phone." Bingo. Jake followed him quickly, glancing behind every few seconds. Minutes later, the hiker made the call. Within 20 minutes, sheriff's deputies arrived. Jake led them to the spot where the car had been. It was gone. No tire tracks, no signs of the man. But Jake hadn't imagined it. The officers found a piece of tarp snagged on a tree root, and one more thing, half buried in the leaves, a small, blood-stained notebook. Inside were names, dates, and drawings. Some pages had maps. Others had sketches of people's faces. One of them looked a lot like Jake. The police were stunned. This wasn't just an attempted kidnapping. It was a serial predator, and Jake had just survived him. The story made local news first, then national. The police never found the man, but they found evidence of at least 4 other missing teens in his notebook. Jake had stopped him from adding a 5th. Not with force, not with weapons, but with his brain, his instincts, his calm. Jake's story isn't just survival, it's strategy, courage, and clarity under pressure. He didn't fight back physically. He didn't scream for help where no one could hear. Instead, he used what he had, his brain, his instincts, and his ability to stay calm when it mattered most. Let's break down what we can learn from this. 1. Don't react, respond. Panic makes you predictable. Jake stayed calm, made the man uncomfortable, and changed the power dynamic. He didn't react emotionally. He responded intelligently. 2. Use your words like weapons. He planted seeds of doubt, mentioned cameras, lied convincingly about family ties to law enforcement. That's not luck, it's quick thinking. 3. Look for the exit. Always. Jake was constantly scanning, watching, planning. When the moment came, he ran smart, not just fast. Zigzagging, confusing his tracker, hiding well. 4. Tech isn't always there, so think old school. No GPS, no phone signal, just survival instincts. Jake acted like a tracker was in his bag to throw the man off. That bluff. Genius. 5. Survival is mental before it's physical. Jake never gave up. He refused to be the victim. That mindset, that will to outthink the enemy saved his life. Jake was just a teenager, but his story proves you don't need to be big or strong to survive. You need to be smart, calm, and ready. Because danger doesn't always knock, it sometimes drives a beat-up car and offers you a ride.